Rouse.
Hey.
Thanks for joining me.
Well,
mate.
thank you for welcoming me to your lovely home.
My leafy suburb of Glasgow.
Yeah. And how old are you now?
I'm 41.
You're 41. I'm 50 now, so I'm the elder statesman. You always are meant to say to a young man, "You have a lovely home."
Oh, yeah.
That's what old people say. You have a lovely home.
Do you pet the dog?
You do have a lovely
pet the
home.
dog. Compliment the dog.
Yeah, I've met the attack dog.
Yeah, you got savaged as you came in
did.
there, didn't you? You done really well. You can tell you've got experience with dogs the way you held her off there.
Yeah, it was.
You're like Mick Dundee.
Yeah, well, I felt she had that kind of vibe of like a kind of a police dog, kind of guarder by nature.
Mm-hmm.
She came over and she gently raised a paw as if to say, I think that was a kind of, that's as far as you go.
Aye.
Until I've been well and truly
frisked.
Frisked.
She frisked you.
Yeah, she. I had to frisk her, which was interesting, wasn't it? She put her hands up and I patted her down.
It was a mutual frisking.
She's very happy about that.
They don't like it when you do that in airport security.
Yeah, they're
Have you
different
noticed
dogs.
that?
Yeah.
You can't airport security when the customs officer pats you down and then you go, right, your turn. Not that keen on it.
Yeah.
Such a double standard.
I got one.
The authority went to the head.
My dear lady wife took me to New York for my 50th birthday party. 50th birthday. It was me and her. We had a party out there. And I got one of the most intimate pat downs I've had at either airport security or in the bedroom. I would add. They went right round the inside of the waistband of the underpants.
They fucking followed the seam all the way around.
Yeah.
Full loop.
Definitely, I think his little finger brushed a puke.
Yeah, the last thing you want is the airport security guy telling you found a lump. You want a prostate off the motherfucker. I sometimes put a penny in my pocket so I can have that. Just, it gets lonely on tour sometimes, you know.
Why the penny wet guy? No, but generally, I mean, that one, I really thought I should have come away with a phone number at least at the end of that one.
You just feel like humped and dumped.
Yeah,
you just felt like a piece of meat, just used.
But I think that's a lovely offer, isn't it? If you could make the offer back, I think that's a great idea of yours. That, And how about? Would you like me to? Can I return the favour?
Can I go through your bag? Just praising the sandwiches now, lad. You know, I want to put a bit of salad on that. Got that lunch and everything. But I'm quite happy that, because we've been touring a lot and we've been doing a lot of that. Like, we talk about the Instagram filter that touring has. Everybody sees the good bits. We've been doing a lot of airports. I've really, really enjoyed the serenity of gigging out of my house.
Yeah.
Every gig I've done in the last month and a half, I've been in my own bed. And it's beautiful when that happens, isn't it?
Do you sleep all right in hotels, or do you always stay up too late?
You know what?
Even if you're not drinking, sometimes I stay up too late just because I get a bit too giddy because I'm not at home.
I sleep the worst when I've got an early alarm.
Yeah.
If it's one of them, you know how some of them are bastard 4:30 alarms or whatever, like 4:15, and your lobby calls like pre 5 a.m.
Yeah.
And you never get into bed before midnight as a stand-up comedian. That's never happening.
It's brutal, isn't it?
Them ones where I know I have to sleep.
Yeah.
It's like, you can't tell me what to do. I'm not going to sleep. You're saying I need to sleep now, otherwise I won't get any. Well, look at this. Look at me, not sleeping, lying here.
Yeah.
I think it's just the fear of not waking up.
Yeah, so I'm shy to getting to sleep early, but I can nap at any point during the day. I learned that when I had kids. I learned to nap.
Yeah.
Because I would have... I don't think physically your body could cope with just the late nights and early mornings with kids unless you learn to nap. And I could fall asleep literally anywhere now. I'm brilliant at it. I use, I think it's like a military breathing technique. In for 4, hold for 7, out for 8.
Are you one of these guys that does, like, you don't have a full night's sleep, you have like 4 pockets of 15 minutes throughout the day?
Oh no, I'm not like Andy McNabb. I'd love to crash out for 8 hours, but that's always interrupted by needing a wee, regardless of even if I've tapered off my fluids at night like a child. I still need a piss at night.
That's a big one for me now.
Yeah.
I'd barely make it through the night without having a piss. I'm getting to the point, like, I remember my granddad going, do you want a drink before bed? I'm not having one. I'll be up all night pittling. Pittling, just not to swear in front of his grandchildren.
Beautiful.
And I remember him saying that and just being like, why would he be up all night pittling?
Yeah.
I couldn't comprehend it.
Yeah.
You go to sleep, you wake up, that's got job done.
It's mad. What do you remember if I can remember back into my 20s, and you just go out and have a skinful and come back in, and literally, you could sleep till 12 the next day, wake up, piss like a racehorse, begin again. But now it's just a different. You've just got to accept time.
I'm starting to also get into it. Now that I'm back home and I'm in me kind of rhythm of being at home, I'm starting to do that thing that teenagers do of staying up on the PlayStation till like the early hours.
You're still you're an adult gamer.
I got a 2:15 last night and called it.
Right, yeah.
I called it a 2:15, but I didn't want to.
Yeah.
And then I lay in bed thinking about the game.
Really? I might be. Maybe I'm an outlier. I've never been into computer games. I remember when I was a kid. So,
but you were there from the start of them.
Yeah, but I was there. Well,
you got to see the whole progression of everything.
I remember that a friend had a ZX81.
The Spectrum.
And that was
Sinclair Spectrum.
It was 1K.
Mm-hmm. Rubber buttons.
No, this was pre-rubber buttons. So the Spectrum had the rubber buttons.
These were made of wood.
Yeah. What was it called? Was it a ZX81?
ZX, the Sinclair ZX Spectrum, I remember, and that was the rubber buttons.
Yeah, so that was the rubber buttons.
And it had an outside cassette player.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of my dad's friends from work used to do pirate games all the way back then, and he would give you like a big cassette, like I say big, like the spool of tape on it was big. Yeah. They were all the same size. And it would have little lines drawn on the label for what games at which
where
line.
The games are.
And you get your pencil or you'd get your finger or whatever you used to do it, and then put it in and then load the game. That was at that level of the tape.
But that was probably the last point of what's it called? Delayed gratification, wasn't it, for kids?
Yeah.
That you had to wait for a game to load, and it might not load. It might take and the big games would take half an hour.
So long, and you didn't know if it was going to load. Sometimes it didn't. Yeah. Sometimes you got all the end, and it was the.
But we never had a computer at home. We were too poor. So we never had a computer.
But you could afford a violin.
Play me a little violin there, just for anyone who's.
Violins are so expensive. How did you get one of them?
Exactly. Jesus, this Stradivarius.
And the fact you could play it tells me you had lessons. It just sounds like it was more of a distribution of wealth than an actual lack of funds.
No, it was mad. And I remember, now the ZX81 before the Spectrum was like a smooth unit. It looked like a little black door.
So it didn't have the. You couldn't type the code in.
It was like press button keys, like what you might get on a really cheap remote control for some LED lights you get off Jeff Bezos, the lad with the Amazon van.
I am.
Yeah, Jeff. He's around here as well.
The guy that comes round and drops off all the deliveries. Yeah, brown guy.
He's got a van round here, isn't he? That's Jeff. Yeah. He'll pop the stuff in. But yeah, so we never had a computer. So I used to go to other people's houses to play computer games, and you used to have to wait. And because I didn't have one at home, I was inevitably shit at them. So someone would play. I watched my mate play, and
watching your friends play was great. Like
for ages, and then I'd have a go. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm dead. Oh, I'm dead again. It's your go again. And then
they've got lots of experience because they live with a console. You should get 2 goes for their every one minimum.
Well, you'd think so. There should have been some form of rules in place. But so my experience with computer games, I think I got jostled out of them because I never got the time.
Yeah, because that was. I was in shortly after you with the ZX Spectrum, and it was like you say, the loading screen was like it was the early modem sound.
Yeah,
before the modem adopted that sound, that was borrowed. That was a sample.
It was when it sampled off the tapes.
You know, like when you hear like a rap song and they've sampled a track from the 80s or something like that. That was the modem was sampling the Spectrum with its sound. And then you play them games, and then for me it was the Amiga 500. Do you remember that one?
So was that a Commodore?
Commodore, big again with a keyboard. So like my early gaming was actually keyboard and mouse. Like
some of them had like a built-in tape player, didn't they, onto the keyboard?
Yeah,
and then a sandwich toaster and a small kettle port on the side as well, didn't they? Yeah, the early ones.
Yeah. It was just all kinds coming out.
And a little holder for your soldering iron. All those kind of things.
I mean,
they're all attached.
That's not even a joke, because something would happen with your computer and your dad would get in there with a soldering iron.
With a soldering iron, yeah.
What my dad did it was pretty basic machinery that you had for the joystick. So you had a joystick that plugged in as well as the mouse. And it was just left, right, up, down. One button. There's a button either side for left-handed and right-handed, but they both do the exact same thing. But that's.
Or if you press the wrong one, you press them both together, the toast pops up.
You've got your whole everything's there. You're like a one-stop shop.
Grill,
He dismantled the joystick and took out what was the up, down, left, and right. And obviously, if you press 2 of them, you get diagonal, right? He took them out, and he took the button thing out, and out of wood and like nuts and bolts, made a steering wheel.
Wow.
So that left, right, and then the pedals up and down. And he actually had these like wooden steering wheel and things that he just made with fucking like in the back garden. And just like we had a free steering wheel with Amiga before computers had ever even started putting steering wheels out of games. Me and my brother had a steering wheel for our computer so that we could play
out of wood. Oh,
so we could play Formula One.
Applause for your dad.
Isn't that a proper G move?
Absolute man after my own heart.
Yeah.
What a legend. He basically. He predicted the future of gaming, but he made it out of wood.
He made it out of wood.
Oh, like Christ.
And then I couldn't beat Nigel Mansell without getting a splinter.
That's amazing. Oh, man. Well, you see, that would have been perfect for me, a wooden computer game. That would have got me in. That would have been my gateway.
Yeah, that's a bit of you, that.
Yeah. So as a result, I've never really hit gaming. I've never been into gaming, so it's always bounced me out. So I was, but I was more like whittling. That kind of stuff.
So whittle spoons and that.
Whittling. Did you have just sticks?
Did you have a shillelagh?
No, we never had a shillelagh. Just pen knives. Pen knife. What's a shillelagh? Is that like a specialist whittling tool?
Well, what I remember, what my granddad would call a shillelagh is a branch of wood that he took off his cherry tree.
Yeah.
And then he'd shave all the bark off it and then sand it down and then give it a varnish and put like a copper stopper on the bottom.
Right.
And just like it would like be a thick top, like a wizard's like thing, like
a stick.
with that staff.
Yeah.
I think a shillelagh is actually a weapon from like olden days, like pre-medieval, I think, just because I've seen them on games before. And he just used it as a walking cane.
Amazing.
But it was just like a posh-looking walking cane that he just knocked up himself out the garden.
Wow. We were just whittling, just little sticks with pen knives.
If you would like to support us and the podcast and treat yourself at the same time, we are still sponsored by Thistley Cross Cider, which if you've ever listened to this podcast before, if you've ever been drinking with me in public, you'll know it is my favourite drink in the entire world and something I do consume regularly. We approached them to sponsor us, not vice versa. This is a sponsorship from the heart. It comes in 6 different flavours. There's the award-winning whiskey class, there's original, there's traditional, there's strawberry, there's elderflower, and there are Scottish fruits. All are delicious, all are very good. My personal favourite is the whiskey cask. It's just
You might want to be prepared for your 4 days of summer up in Scotland and make your order now, and you're going to get a discount code for being a fan of the podcast.
The code is ThistleySlossJuly, and the website is thistleycrosscider.co.uk. That again is the code of ThistleySlossJuly, and the website is thistleycrosscider.co.uk. Help us to help you, but mainly to help us.
Were you into pen knives? Because you were on your Sega Mega Drive probably by then.
You know what?
Did you used to have fires? We used to burn
we
stuff.
we were real arsonists.
Yeah, we used to burn stuff.
Yeah, I've got a confession to make. Actually, I think I burned down a bakery when I was younger.
Did you?
I think so.
Okay, let's unbox that.
I don't think I should be owning up to this.
Okay,
but
let's imagine you didn't, because it would have caught up with you by now.
Yeah,
but just on the off chance that you might have accidentally burned down a bakery.
We set a fire and it was like this over.
So it was just a play fire, standard kind of fire that kids used to have back in the day. You're whittling.
So I'm whittling away, right?
We used to get bricks and build like a chimney, but with air holes in it. We used to call it a furnace. And that because it would draw the air through it.
So you'd actually like harness the fire.
Oh yeah. To really power it, and then once we found some old cupboard doors and we lent them TP style over the furnace, and by thunder that went up and took out an entire gorse hedgerow.
Did you do any collateral damage?
Fortunately not. Because there was a field on the other side, so it just torched that.
Yeah.
But yeah, there were different times.
Because it was like sometimes the fire would just get out of hand and you'd leave it.
Yeah,
and that's what happened with us. We set a fire in the overrun garden of a bakery because they weren't using the garden; it was just overrun. And we went and set a fire, and then it got a little bit out of hand, and we left it. And then, like about a week later, we went down, and it was like boarded up. And we were like,
"Well, I mean, just in terms of mitigation, could have been 2 separate fires.
Yeah, could have been,
couldn't it?
Yeah.
Could have been. It could have been the owner. Could have been an insurance job. And that what was that 30 years ago?
What on a legal standpoint, what do you think would happen if like a 9-year-old child who set a fire? If like what if like just for the sake of discussion?
Yeah.
What if like somebody died in that fire? Like, I don't think they would. I think there would have been a big inquisition and we would have heard about it. It would have been.
It would have been on the local news.
It would have just been one of them things in Blythe that was just folklore.
Yeah, it would have been.
And I would have been running from this my entire life. But supposing that had happened from a 9-year-old setting a fire.
Yeah.
Right. And then I went up to it as a 41-year-old.
Yeah.
Do you reckon I'm banged to rights? Do you reckon there'd be repercussions for that?
Oh, gee, that's a really good question.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I think
if you carry a crime for like 30 odd years, do you reckon there's just be like, oh, that was a completely different person back then?
Well, yeah. If you carried a crime that you commit when you were 9 by accident, by misadventure,
yeah.
I mean, it's whether they're going to come after you or after the people that were meant to be in local parentis at
my
the
mum
time.
and dad, you're fucked. Yeah, you're fucked. You making them as a nice little steering wheel there, but what were you? You should have been watching me. What were you doing making a steering wheel? Setting fires in the bakery. Mad bastard.
Yeah, they took your eye off the ball there, Dad.
I did love that. What would probably be considered neglect in today's day and age. They come in when the streetlights come on.
That was the style of parenting. Yeah.
Like, we've got shit to do. Go and entertain yourselves.
Yeah.
Watch the roads.
Don't burn down the bakery.
Don't take your eyes off your little brother. You know what he's like when he's got a lighter. Just blaming my brother as well.
No, I'd call it a period of benign neglect.
Benign neglect.
That was kind of that was what my understanding of childhood was. But with that was a lot of freedom. Yeah. I remember, you just go out on your bike in the morning.
Everywhere on my bikes.
Lunch, I mean, that was a movable feast. You might pop in for some lunch.
Fries to go.
Yeah, you might have
take them out. When they had the microwave for fries that were in the cross-hatched packaging.
Oh, yeah.
So they were like really formalised, disciplined, like they're doing a military drill.
Yeah.
These fries. And then you pop them in, then you can just pick them out one by one and eat the fries.
Mate. Again, you had your computers. I didn't have that. We didn't have a microwave. I remember
10 years, man.
We didn't get
10 years
video. We didn't get a video recorder till I remember it was the Tyson fight when he got beaten by Buster Douglas to put a timestamp on it, and I worked it out, and I was 15, 16.
Can you remember when it felt like cutting-edge technology that you could set the video to record by putting the code in from the TV times?
Again, I mean, that feels like that's science fiction. What you're telling me there? I don't think we had a. And what was it? We probably had like it must have had what a difference 10 years, mate. It must have had like a brand name, like something code.
Yeah, it would have.
In the something code.
Put in the something pin or code.
It'd be like the QR code of its day. Scan this.
Because that was the moment when I felt my granddad started to slip from technology, because that's when he'd get the kids to do it, because he didn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And I remember that as the switching point where the younger generation started overtaking the older generation with the upkeep of technology.
Yeah.
For me, now that's Discord. Are you aware of Discord?
No, I'm still wrestling with the fact that we had our arrangements for this podcast on WhatsApp.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and I got my head round it at the Altitude Festival. I realised the power of the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
Because up till now, I've resisted. I've tried to hold back the tide. When I'd text someone or ring someone and then they send me a message on WhatsApp, and I think, because I don't want any more alerts in my life.
Any cross-platform.
Yeah.
You know why
I just accepted you for me. You're one of the younger generation, so I'll happily WhatsApp you, Kai.
You know why we use WhatsApp?
Why is that?
Because in America, everyone's just decided, iPhones work. They all work. They cooperate with each other.
Yeah.
Let's all have iPhones. But there's just like a section of society that are just like Daniel Sloss is one of them. My wife's one of them. Like they resist iPhones because they think that I think they think they're better by having this like semi-computer Android that you don't need a jailbreak to get apps on, or you can like put anything on it. Like, I think for a smart, if you're an absolute tech nerd, that's probably going to be for you.
Right,
but the people I'm talking about, Natalie and Daniel, aren't the tech nerds that they think they might be to get one of these devices.
They just don't want the man watching them.
I don't know what it is. It's just like they're too cool for the brand or something. Like they're just like all these muggles just buying into this. Yeah, whatever reason it is. Right, we've got a cross section of society that shun the iPhone and our Android users. And now, if you send a group chat to somebody on iPhone, the outlier that's on a fucking Samsung, it'll just like splinter it into several different text messages.
Right.
So if I text you and just a couple of other people that are on iPhones, it would come up with blue message.
Right.
It comes up green if one of those people is.
Sometimes when I try and text people, it goes green. What's that about?
That means they don't have an iPhone.
Right. Okay.
And they're the reason.
But they still get the message.
they get it as like an SMS rather than just an iMessage, like an internet sent message.
Gotcha.
And,
Okay.
like it might cost you 10 pence on your fucking text.
Well, see, this is where I always fall down because I always find generally group texts a pain in the arse because there's too much. Oh, I don't want salt on mine, or I want skinny fries, or whatever it is. It just feels like
you're trying to organise a stag do it all.
Too much fucking faffing. Exactly. Yeah. Who cares? We'll work it out when we get there. Just yes or no. Will you be there?
Send me the information.
Exactly. I'll be there.
I don't need your mad friend from back home sending beheading videos in the middle of a discussion about paintball.
Similar, when the kids started playing football, I just ran away from WhatsApp because it's so-and-so's lost his socks. And I think, why the fuck do I know that, little Johnny's mum can't find his socks? And it has no bearing on my life. I don't want to know about it. It's just more information I couldn't give a shit about. So I assume that's what WhatsApp was.
You must have so much more time in your life back than what I do, because I can't pick up my phone for I'll pick up my phone to Google something.
Yeah.
And then catch up with 800 messages of correspondence.
Yeah.
And then do the thing I want to do. And it's so
you
much
might
clutter.
be more popular a human being than I am.
Or you just basically what the WhatsApp messages are, right, is everybody's in the pub having a conversation, right? And you walk into the pub late and go, all right, from the beginning, tell me what everybody said up until now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then everybody just fucking tells you everything, and then you try and jump in on the conversation. Or you could just fucking come in, not catch up on any of it, and do it that way. And then you've missed a bunch of context for the stuff they're talking about, because they're not going to fill you in on it like.
But
they would
you
in the
eventually
pub.
work it out. I think it's a bit like joining in a game of football. It doesn't matter what happened before. You can find out what the score is.
Yeah.
And then you sort of... Oh, it's like starting to dance, isn't it?
Yeah.
You just start dancing near the edge. And then before you know it, you're dancing with everyone.
Big licks.
It doesn't matter. That's the thing. I don't care. If I wasn't there, it doesn't matter. That's what I'm sort of... That's where my head sort of sits. But I always thought it was people saying... Because it's all free. But then who's paying... Getting a data program where... I've got a gift card thing. It's like 12 quid a month and I never run out of text.
No, I don't
understand that argument either.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I sometimes get a bit confused by people's constant search for Wi-Fi as well, because do you not... I don't think my contract's anything special apart from I've got some overseas thing on it where I can go overseas with my data. But when you're back home, do you not just get data in most places?
Yeah, I do, everywhere.
There's pretty good coverage now. So when people are like, oh, there's no Wi-Fi, and I'm like, wait a minute, are you off the fucking grid if you step out your house?
Yeah, it's mad.
Do you not just have data?
Although I dropped a bollock in New York when I bought 30 quid's worth of whatever it was, back with something on the thing. And I turned my phone on to look at a map, and then it just vanished.
Oh, it's gone.
Like a plug hole. So I don't know what that was. But then I just realised, then we had a paper map for Manhattan. So we just walked around with a map. And it was great. It was fantastic.
It's just nice. It's nice to be away from your phone.
Talking of amazing things, though, the stations. I don't want to give away where you live. Do you ever mention?
You know what?
Which bit you live in?
I think I doxed myself on the last podcast actually. So I mentioned which district I lived in.
But I will veer away from this. But
no, I don't mind. Well,
some of the surrounding station names are superb on the trip out.
Let's
from
do
Glasgow.
it. So you've just done Glasgow Central to Clarkston.
Yeah,
and in between.
Yeah, between. Cross My Loof.
Cross Me Loof, yeah.
Cross Me Loof. What an incredible place name. Do you know anything about where that comes from?
I know that. I don't know where it comes from. I just know there's an amazing. If I got this right, there's an amazing breakfast brunch cafe called Bramble, and you've got to try the chicken waffles.
Right, amazing.
So that's all I know about Cross Me Loof.
I mean, what a great opener that is. The first station on the line. Yeah. Cross My Loof.
Cross My Loof.
One word. Absolute, knocking it out the park there.
Good start.
Sensational.
And then
next one, Pollocks Shores West.
Which
means there's a Pollocks Shores East.
That's the theatre district. You didn't want to go to the east. I don't know.
Is Pollocks Shores West?
I don't know much about Pollocks Shores. No.
Obviously that would make sense. Pollock being
what is a pollock?
Pelagic fish.
Okay, it's a pollock's a fish. Yes.
A lot of fish fingers you buy, if they haven't got haddock, they'll be pollock,
right.
And they're seen as a poor man's haddock. But beautiful fish. If you ever catch them.
Is that like a Bangor version of what Bangor's are to sausages, where that's just mostly muck?
So. But they're lovely pollock. Beautiful fish. They're silver with a gorgeous copper belly, and striped down the side. I
So
caught
that
one off the coast of Wales.
off the coast of Pollocks Shores, off the shores.
But yeah, so obviously it's rife of pollock out there.
So that must be on the shore of the Clyde, right? Because we're not on the
gotta
coast.
be.
It's got to be on the
Yeah.
shore of the
Pollock
river.
swimming up the Clyde, maybe. And then I'll jump around a bit so as to not give away your exact location. Well, this one, because there was a blip on the thing, it looked like hair my arse.
Hair my arse.
Hair my arse. Incredible.
Hair of my arse.
Hair of my arse. Hair my is that
It's
right?
like hair of the dog, but if you've been rimming. Just have a little rim in the morning and it puts you
Thought
back
that was
right.
great. Gift knock.
Gift knock.
Gift knock. I mean, it sounds like a made-up word, doesn't it, in the Harry Potter?
Do you know when
You got me right in the gift knock.
it's one of the houses, one of the houses that you go in, Sorting Hat.
The House of Gift Knock.
It's in Gift Knock.
Harry, you must. Every time we listened to the audiobook of Harry Potter.
Oh, Stephen Fry.
Yeah, and on the way down holiday, and my kids got really annoyed with me because I couldn't stop when Stephen, every time his voice came and he said Harry Potter, and I'd always chime in, and the buttocks of thunder, because I always think Stephen Fry always says buttock a lot, doesn't he? And it's always very funny. I remember a great joke it was on Fry and Laurie when he said, I stooped over to pick a buttock up. Why, there was a buttock on the floor, I'll never know. He loves saying the word buttock.
I gigged with Stephen Fry, you know.
Did you?
It was a charity gig from Griff Rhys-Jones does it every year in Ipswich. And Stephen Fry come in and done...
All of that information is wonderfully random, isn't it? You, Stephen Fry, Griff Rhys-Jones, where? Ipswich,
yeah. Clive Anderson, Eddie Izzard. It was probably one of the greatest lineups I've ever been on. It was
amazing.
Sensational. Johnny Vegas.
Yeah.
I got smashed with Johnny Vegas that night. I rolled him up in a rug.
I'm going to sleep now.
And what a bizarre night that was. But yeah, Stephen Fry come on and done a little bit of spoken word. Like, he wasn't there doing stand up, but he did find the punchlines because that's who he is.
Yeah.
And then, if I remember right, auctioned off some of Rod Stewart's shoes.
I mean, of course, that's just what happens in Ipswich, isn't it?
Just one of them mad days in Ipswich. What a thing.
I did warm-ups for the first series of QI back in the day, and when Stephen Fry used to host it, and obviously he was like a hero, like growing up, like Fry and Laurie, Blackadder, General Melchip. It was like just iconic, these huge kind of roles that he played, and he was really, really nice and kind, and he's exactly as you imagine he's going to be, isn't he? And I remember there was one. I mean, the third or fourth week doing the warm up thing. I remember walking down the corridor, and it's quite like the old TV centre. Felt a bit like being at school corridors and shit. And from the back of the corridor, I heard, "Beer." He did a full Melchit, "Beer, Rouse, beer," and I literally slipped over with laughter. I couldn't believe it. It was unbelievable. It just made all of my Christmases cool at once.
Isn't it funny how you can get giddy around them?
Well, it's brilliant, isn't it? I think it's a lovely thing. When I did Upstart Crow, and I was working with, obviously, David Mitchell, who was brilliant to work with, and also I'm working with Harry Enfield.
Amazing.
Who, again, it's those, but people like him, formative people, comedic influences in your life of my generation that just felt like, something's happening here.
Yeah.
Obviously loads of money and Stavros original on the Friday Live, and then Harry Enfield's television programme. And I still think Harry and Paul, whenever they do something, it's phenomenal. It's just different. They work on another kind of
Isn't it great,
paradigm.
this industry, that you can watch something as a kid and then grow up and do stand-up and then just be gigging with them as well.
It's insane.
It's insane. I bought Jasper Carrot on in Birmingham, and
it was just love watching Jasper Carrot.
What was it like? It was every single channel, I'm sure. He had 4 channels and he just seemed to be on all of them.
And he would just sit on a stool, and that was the best bit, and he'd just talk. That was proper like TV. He did just his stand up on TV.
I feel like in that moment in time,
brilliant.
you couldn't be more famous than what he was then, because we didn't have all these different like sensory inputs, like the internet and all the like cable channels and Sky and all that. You just had terrestrial television, and he was omnipotent on it.
Yeah.
And like, in that pocket of time, in like I'd say late 80s, early 90s, he was just always there. And then I was on stage in Birmingham, welcoming him onto the stage. I just fucking couldn't believe it.
Was that recently?
No, I'm going to say about 6 years ago.
How was he? Was he all right?
Yeah, he done some old jokes, you know.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
Which sometimes when the guy does old jokes, I'm like, that might be one of his.
But he came up through the folk circuit, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it would have been like checking your book to see which one you had so that you didn't do it.
Maybe. But yeah, he came up through the folk scene like Billy Connolly did, didn't he? Mm-hmm. Amazing.
Yeah.
And I remember walking in for rehearsal one day and Harry Enfield was sat in his character on this chamber pot, like in the scene that they were doing. And as I walked in, he clocked me and he went, how was your weekend, mate? Did you have a good night out or did you have a quiet night in? It just did his Dave Nice.
He just did
out
it
of nowhere.
He just did it in character.
Oh, fuck me. It was just, it's funny, isn't it, how things like that, especially as a comedian, that's why you ended up doing it.
Yeah.
It hardwires you to right back to your childhood.
This might make you feel a bit old. I watched you with my parents before I'd met you.
Oh my God.
Do you know about that? Have I told you about this?
No, go on.
Me mum, I'd started doing open mics, right?
Yeah.
And my mum was just excited. I went round and she was just that excited. She was just like, I've recorded this comedian, you're gonna love him, and to put him on the planet. And it was you doing an impression of your dog sucking itself off in front of the in-laws.
Oh wow!
And it must have been
live at the comedy store.
Live at the comedy store.
Oh wow!
And my mum was in fucking tears, and she'd already watched it again, and I was in fucking bits. Like it was just one of them amazing moments where like I'm just like hungry for comedy, and I'm just like getting into the thing. And she was just excited to show me this guy that she discovered, and it was your footage. And then I think I did a gig with you for Rob Riley in like Lancaster or something like that. Yeah. And I was texting my mum just going, I'm gigging with that guy. I'm gigging with Rob.
Well, how lovely.
Isn't that nice?
Lovely story. And can you send all of my love to your mum?
Aye, absolutely. Yeah. Because you did Punch Drunk.
Yeah.
And she was pure starstruck when you did Punch Drunk as well. Like I think she was selling pork sandwiches at the back of the room.
That was great. Those gigs are fantastic.
I don't know if she like approached you or spoke to you or anything like that, but she was like absolutely starstruck when you were there.
Yeah. I remember those gigs were great fun. So much fun. Are they still going? You still doing them?
You know what? Casualty of lockdown in that we had a good head of steam, as you well know from like the boxing and the running gigs that was ever expanding. We kind of ventured into weekends because a lot of people were like, "Oh, I'd love to go," but it's midweek. And the midweek was my USP because we could get top comedians without stepping on the weekend.
Well, that's what I do with my little village gigs now.
Yeah.
Which is kind of the same model. I like to do them Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursdays. So you can book really good people, let them do a bit more, have a great time, pay them properly. Yeah. And everyone can go home without having to go into
weekend money
town.
Midweek, and it tags onto the weekend, and it just like it just covers a bit more of your expenses for the week as a job and comic, and then the weekend's more lucrative because it's cleared funds and that. So the weekend it was a bit tougher to book, and then all the people that said that they were going to come because like if it was on a weekend I'd come, they didn't show up, and the people that were coming midweek are the ones that came. Yeah. So what we did is we were just like, right, let's just get it. Like, it wasn't broke. Why didn't we try and fix it? Let's get it back to the midweek gigs. And we booked it right up until like 2021. And we had like the full of 2020 booked in. And then lockdown hit. And that was Gav's, my brother's bread and butter. Yeah. Like obviously I was doing stand up and that was side hustle for me, but that was his main hustle. And he started a job as an electrician and then had a baby, and then his wife was pregnant by the time lockdown fully lifted and you could do full gigs. So the second one's on the way, and he couldn't leave his electrician job to focus on this. And when he finished work, he's got his two kids, a toddler and an infant, and like asking him to run a run of gigs on top of that is just too much.
It's crazy.
It's just far too much. So
I mean, someone's going to get a plug wide up the wrong way around.
So we've had the occasional gig. Yeah. The last one we did was the Christmas run. Yeah. And we've just done the occasional gig just because there's a thirst for it, and we know if we put on a gig, people are going to come.
Yeah. But keeps it at a premium as well, doesn't it?
It does. But I would love to get back to where we were. It's just like we're man on the ground stretched. Yeah, and I don't even live in that town, so it's not right.
But what was really amazing coming it from the outside was that everything that you and Gav achieved with that, and then raising all the money you raised that changed that young boy's
Yeah.
course of his life,
Uh-huh.
like just as a thing to have done as a human being in your sphere. I always think of it just as with immense like fondness and like pride of what you guys did. I think it's brilliant.
It's
really
something.
lovely.
It's something I remind myself of on a regular basis. It's just one of them like
you should do.
little check-ins. You know, if you're just starting to feel a bit down or whatever for whatever reason. I tend
Yeah.
not to. I'm pretty generally positive person, but
Yeah.
like if I do get them little moments, like I'll just cast my mind on that and go and like
Yeah.
it's a good like little pick me up
But
from.
I think there's a lot of truth in that, isn't there? Because probably and it's funny. If an element of this podcast is about being out on the road, often when you're on the road, you're on your own, aren't you?
Yeah.
Which is fucking weird, isn't it? Sometimes it's brilliant. Sometimes going to watch a film on your own, fantastic. But most downtime on your own, unless I've got a book I'm really into or I need to get something done, I'm not good at it. And I think, and the older I get, the more I realise we thrive off being with people or achieving something with people, connecting with people. And that's probably why that's such a positive and will remain a positive touchstone for you, because you did something that involved loads and loads of other people, and it was a huge.
It just galvanised communities.
Absolutely,
like,
it was amazing.
This young lad, and if anybody's late to the party on the story, on my website or on YouTube, you can just watch the entire story for free. I made a special about it, so you can go and catch up on that. But it was the galvanising of like the communities of Blythe and the surrounding areas, but not just that. The comedy industry kind of galvanised, and it was all around this kid that only a couple of people had met. Like nobody had met. I hadn't met the kid. Did you know that? So at the end when I recorded the special, because I asked, like once he got the all clear from his neuroblastoma, I asked his mum if I could write about the story and I could tell the story on stage, and she was like, "Oh, I'd be honoured. Like I would love it if you did that." So I made the whole story. So he was an element of it at the end, but it was like about me and my brother and brotherhood and how like we ended up coming together to help Kane, and it ends with the boxing. Now, spoiler alert: if you haven't watched the special, just skip past the next minute or so. They brought Kane on stage at the end. Wow. And I'd never met him until that point. Oh my
God.
So I was doing like a thank you to everybody that was involved, because there was people that boxed in the room, like Barry Castanola and Milo McCabe and stuff. Yeah. And I was doing like a big stand up, and then like because the majority of the story was about me growing up with my brother and coming to this, I welcomed my brother onto stage to give him a big cheer, and him and one of my best friends, David, they come on carrying this like present that was recorded around Christmas time, this big parcel, and then I took the lid off the parcel and Kane's in there.
Oh my God.
And man, I burst out crying. Like
I bet you did.
I was bubbling my eyes out.
Oh, well, that's my afternoon sorted. I'm going to watch that back in the hotel room and cry like a baby.
Have a cry. I'm sorry for spoiling the ending for you, but
no, mate. No, it's good to know that's happening.
But a lot of people in the room didn't realise that I hadn't met him.
Oh,
and
wow.
when I just said it at the mic at the end, I was like, "This is the first time we've met."
Wow.
I don't live in the area, and this was all happening, and people knew about it, and it was mutual friends of ours that were just that seen we'd been doing charity work already, like helping local charities and filling the food banks and using the community gathering of these gigs to do that, and it was just a cry from help from one of our close friends, just saying, "Look, a friend of mine, their kid's ill. I don't know what to do." And then Gav bounced on that. I was actually gigging out in Marybelle at the time, Richard Letts gigs and taking the piece. My brother phoned us. He was just like, "Hi, we're going to do something fucking wild here. We're going to try and raise $500,000.
Amazing.
I was like, I just on the phone, because my brother's full of wild ideas, man. He's full of wild ideas.
I remember that whole experience.
But the fact he pulled that one off, I was like, oh my fucking God.
It's outstanding what you guys did. I just think just to have done that in your life is a beautiful thing.
I was so cynical when he said it.
Yeah.
And he was like, "We just need to be able to say we've tried."
Yeah.
And I was like, let's try then. Let's give it a go.
So where do you think that comes from in your brother then? That thing, because like anyone who's dealt with tough times or hardship or mental depression or whatever.
He deals a lot. He deals a lot in visualization.
Right.
He uses visualization. It's hard to say in a Geordie accent. That. He uses it as a tool where he pictures, he imagines the end product.
Yeah.
And then just tries to manifest the journey there. And obviously the manifestation, the journey there always involves like a lot of hard work and moving parts, but like you figure that out as you go.
But that's it, isn't it? Yeah, a key to sort of like remaining or constructively positive is to enjoy Enjoy it. The obstacle is the way, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the same happened with Natalie in the dog park. I was just telling you, there's a lot of these guys. A lot of these guys already know that the Dog and Bone. My wife runs a soft play in Glasgow for dogs, which sounds like I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it to you. It sounds like my life is made up when I tell people that I'm a stand-up comedian and my wife runs a soft play for dogs.
Yeah.
I said they're like, all right, okay, do you still live with your mum? So, anyway, so she was just like, wouldn't it be nice to have this indoor place that dogs can play without having to endure the elements of Scotland and the bracing winters that we'll have up on the west coast of Scotland? And we're just like, what's in the way? And we're like, well, it might smell. How are we going to deal with that? And just like,
how do they deal with the smell? Interesting. Big extractor fans.
So everybody has to just immediately look after their dog like you would if you were outdoors.
Yep.
But we've got these bins where it like vacuum seals the poo bag into like a shrink wrap and then drops it in.
Do they do ones for domestic premises?
That's
as well?
what it's actually for nappies.
Oh, really?
Diapers.
Perfect.
So that's what it's for.
Yeah.
But she's repurposed it for being about poo bags.
Absolutely brilliant.
And then disinfects the place every single evening after the last dog leaves. Disinfect the whole thing. And it's been open a year and a half, and it smells nice. It smells of coffee.
Yeah.
It's just got the coffee machine, just the overrated smell. But so like it was just obstacles.
Dogs love coffee. It's not till you give dogs coffee that you realise how much they love it.
Some places serve puppuccinos, and I don't know if there's any caffeine in them. I imagine there's not.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, a disclaimer: do not give your dog coffee.
I don't think you should be caffeinating your dog. They're already quite energetic.
I mean, there's loads of things in there that you're not meant to give dogs. In there, like kind of raisins, chocolate.
Oh yeah.
Our old dog Ron that I can talk about now. We've got two. We've got one dog now. We've got Billy the Whippet, who's the softest, butteriest animal I've ever met.
Lovely.
He's so pathetically loving. It's incredible. He gets into bed at night and gets under the covers, and you wake up and his head is under your head, and he's smooth. And then you're just stroking the crown of his chest, and it really feels like you shouldn't be stroking it because it's a bald area, and it feels like a cross between side boob and bald skin. It's amazing. And it feels like no one should be touching it, but you
just
can't
a little
stop.
bit of fuzz on it.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's incredible. But Ron, our old dog Ron, who we got from Batsy Dog Zone before we had kids, it was 2 years ago we lost him. Eventually, he had to go to sleep. Basically, he was 15 and a half.
Is this the dog that sucked himself off?
That's
in
Ron
front of my mother.
In front of your mother, yeah. And dislodged Christ off the wall. Such was the vigour.
So that's the 15 years is a long time for a dog, right?
Ron was like.
Maybe that's the secret of long life. Maybe we should all be out here sucking our own cocks.
He was and also he's a real crossbreed as well, Ron.
Yeah.
So and I think with dogs that are kind of multiple, Ron was an ultimate mongrel. He was kind of bulletproof, but you also couldn't take.
You try
him
to
to the
shoot
vets. Yeah, many times.
But run the back of the shed, ding, 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 sparks flying.
It's mad.
Caught a ricochet, you got your arm on bandaged up.
I'm all right. Fuck it, I'll just shake it off. I'll be all right. And he was hard as nails, but really lovely. It was great dog, Ron. But he seemingly all the things that dogs weren't meant to eat, like raisins. He once ate 18 suet mince pies that he stole off the side. He only managed to eat 17, and he took one under his bed before he fell asleep because he was too full.
He kept one for later.
Entire airport Toblerone once stole out of a child's bag.
Oh my God.
Absolutely fine.
Totally fine with it.
Other dogs, a bit of chocolate, they're dead.
That's it. I think it's the cruelest thing that one of the most readily available snacks in a house is poison to a dog.
Yeah, it's wild, isn't it? But Ron could eat anything. I mean, literally anything. He once ate. Once we took him on a walk around a reservoir and he found a dead trout that was must have been was kind of rotted. It turned green,
delicious,
and absolutely delicious. And he was trotting along with that in his mouth. And two ladies ran past in their running gear, and one of them was involuntarily sick. The smell is fucking unbelievable. But Rob was going, "Oh, this is a lovely snack. Lovely snack. I'll have this later." Yeah.
I found her with a bit of string hanging out of her mouth on I hadn't been out of the house for very long, so it was from nearby. And I don't need to tell you the rest of that story, right? She was stuck in a tampon. She was. Yeah. Wouldn't let go of it. Thought it was like a little pull toy.
Rob's had all sorts of pads out of the bin, all sorts of stuff. He used to break into when we had a nappy bin on the back of the kitchen door under the sink or bin. It had a lock on it with a bin on the flat top bin on the back. You could open that, get down to the bottom, get a nappy out, undo the nappy bag, roll the nappy out, eat the shit, just leave all the mess on the floor. Incredibly bright but disgusting creature.
I'm glad my dog doesn't eat shite. Like that's a you know, when you think of like all the quirks that your dog has.
Yeah.
Like I was saying, like mine's quite reactive to lights and leaves, just anything that like she can get. Yeah. Anything she's like, what's that? Can I have it? That's her little quirk, and I'm like, oh, I would not trade that quirk for choose the remote.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's certain things that other people's dogs have as like a quirk. Like for the quirks that my dog has, like I'm really glad eating shit isn't one of them, because she's so keen to lick a face.
Yeah.
So
that is that there is some. I'm glad because I let her kind of lick my ear, so it's good to know. Good to know she's not a Todd Muncher. But yeah, Ron, I would never have let him lick my face.
Nah, not Ron. Anyone but Ron.
Well, I remember when my son had just been born. We were living in Crystal Palace. I came downstairs. I think I was going to cricket nets or something. My mate Phil, this builder for Bristol, was walking up the road. It was dead hot, both doors open, front and back. And Ron came in from the garden and just kind of started hunkering down and then went, and he backed up and produced like a bin lid sized puddle of what was definitely just fox shit that he'd been hoovering up from outside.
So he just took it, partially digested it, and then just implanted it in the house.
And my mate Phil, he could smell it like 400 yards down the road, and he was retching by the time he arrived. That was all. I mean, listen, I'll stop talking about my dog eating shit too much.
There will be like people listen to the podcast that like just don't understand, you know, like germophobes. Like I've got friends who like one of my and Natalie's friends who comes around, she'll like, Peggy will be around. You see how she jumps up. She's instantly like, "Oh no, I don't want to touch this dog," and then sits on here with her feet up because she doesn't want to touch the dog, because she sees that dog as like just a petri dish of germs that's been out in the wilderness.
But actually, that dog is your immune system's best friend.
I bet.
Isn't it? It really is. It's like when you have babies, you've got to let they're going to crawl around on the fucking floor.
Yeah,
and you can go around infecting everything. But that baby will probably get ill more often.
Yeah,
you've just got to let. It's a weird thing. It's
your body figures it out.
It's a zero-sum game, isn't it? Being a germaphobe.
But I mean, if you're a germaphobe, then that is going to make you ill.
Yeah.
So you're probably in the right.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because you've protected yourself from all of the stuff that would normally immunise you.
Yeah.
And now that dog's going to ruin you. So so when people are like that with dogs, I kind of get it. But the fact that like I've now had my dog in my bed, and it's not like we'll bath her every single night. She'll be out for a walk in the woods, and then she'll get in my bed, and I have not got sick. I'm like, oh, it's fine.
It's fine.
It's totally fine. Like I don't mind being a little bit of a scruff for that, if that's what people like.
Exactly. I mean,
whereas that's been a glacial change for me, because Peggy was down here for the first year that we had her, because I was like, I don't want my dog in my bed. I wouldn't put my shoes on the table.
Yeah.
It's like I wipe my bum after a shit.
Yeah.
There's like certain levels of hygiene.
Goodbye, Kai.
So I just had that in the same bracket.
Yeah,
I just had that in the same bracket as not wiping your bum, as having a dog in your bed.
I mean, I've started talking about on stage. I think the very concept of wiping your bum is inherently odd when you think about it, isn't it? Like, if I remember a mate saying to me, he said, if you got dog shit on your arm when you were a kid, you fell over in a dog shit, and you went to your mum, went, "Mum, I've got dog shit all over my arm." And she just said, "Come here, let me just get some dry paper
Get it with
towels.
a bit of paper, yeah.
Let's wipe it off until we can't see it anymore." You think, "Mum, you're insane," wouldn't you?
It's literally insanity.
Exactly. And we tend to look around at the idea of a bidet or just washing your bum with a little shower. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Like, or squatting when you do a poo. That's a bit weird, isn't it?
Them hoses are the best. You know,
like the best way of cleaning your bum.
In India and like parts of Europe, like Finland and that, they'll have a butt spray.
Yeah.
I fucking sometimes don't even need a shade.
Yeah.
Just get on, just go and fill myself up like I'm doing the jet washers in my car, the garage.
Give yourself a colonic. But also, like squatting when you're pooing is meant to be the best way of shitting, because it straightens your bowel out.
So yeah, when you're in parts of the Middle East, like I think it was Bahrain, when they have the little hole in the floor and you have to squat down on it.
That's bang on the money.
You feel like third world.
Yeah.
Like, they're squatting, dude, just going, like, I feel undignified at this.
Yeah.
But that's, like, putting your ass in the correct shape.
Absolutely. You see how easy that poop falls out. Flop, straight down.
You're meant to have, like, a little footstool in your toilet on you to put your feet up on.
Yeah.
Hug your knees.
Yeah. You have to be careful because you can't fire it off the edge.
Yeah. I guess you're putting your cock at a different angle as well, aren't you?
You've really got to know your angles.
You're doing a trebuchet angle on your pissing, and you can't shit without pissing.
If you can get the piss into the shower, you're laughing. Yeah, but then you need to have the strength of flow, don't you?
Yeah.
Which obviously diminishes as you get older.
Yeah, it does. Starts like flying out at different angles.
Talking of flow, can I have a little bit more of that lovely coffee on the side there? Is that right? No, I'll just have a little coffee.
You know what I'm going to do now? This.
Do you do adverts?
This is a podcast. There's you've probably already been advertised to, so you've probably already got your discount code for Thistley Cross because that'll have been put in somewhere in the middle. But what we'll do now, if you don't mind, is we'll call this a podcast now. We'll put this out on the public channels.
Incredible.
And then we'll record a little Patreon bonus special where we'll go through our phone notes and do some uncooked ideas. So we did this with Ryan Cullen, and I asked at the end, I was like, if you enjoyed that format, let me know, and I'll do it with other comedians. And I haven't put that episode out yet, so if it's like a bunch of yeses, then I mean it's requested.
Yeah,
and I mean if a bunch of people were like, "Oh no, that was awful," those ideas should remain uncooked.
Yeah,
then we are absolutely forcing it upon them against their will.
Can I advertise my podcast on the end of this podcast?
Please do it now. Yeah.
So me and Tom Wrigglesworth, who's a very funny comedian.
What a guy!
Sheffield. He's great.
Yeah, what a guy.
We do a podcast called the Unlikely Weightlifters Podcast, where we meet up once a week, and we got into weightlifting. I think it was in lockdown. I mean, you wouldn't know to look at me.
Yeah, man, you've been keeping it up.
But it came. Do you actually do it?
Man, the games.
But Tom took an online BMI test, and it turned out he was medically emaciated. He was like an extra from Tenko. He was properly.
He isn't, because he's so tall.
Yeah,
it just looks like it's that though.
He's about 6'4", 6'5", but he was, and he used to have his clothes specially made. He essentially would do the Mumbai gigs for the Comedy Store, so he could get jackets bespoke made. Because he's so thin.
He's got a bit of a Sideshow Bob look going on.
Yeah. And he was getting loads of back trouble as well when he was picking up his toddlers, because he got twins.
Yes, he did, yeah.
So he took it.
They must be about 7 or 8 now, are they?
Yeah, they are, yeah. So he took it upon himself to put on 20 kilos before Christmas. And I joined him on that quest, because I was about to start building an annex in the garden for my mother-in-law, who now lives in the garden. In the annex, not free range. So I'm a keen amateur builder, but I thought if I get laid up here, I'll put my back out, I'm screwed. And I'd had back trouble in the past. I used to play a lot of cricket when I was young. But I remember once lying in bed one morning, waking up, the sun was coming in through the window, and I was thinking, I'm so lucky. I actually do feel, every now and then you realise you live a charmed life.
Yeah.
And I thought, I'm really lucky. And
like
I did did a big yawn, sort of stretched like that, and my back went, and then I couldn't move my neck for about 2 months. And I thought, there's something wrong here. And as you get older, as you hit 40 or whatever, weightlifting's meant to be the best thing you can do for your body. It diminishes your chance of falls, all those kind of things, which become more prevalent. Anyway, so we meet up once a week, and we weightlift together. And we started off, because weights were dead expensive in lockdown, so we made our own out buckets, builders' buckets with concrete, and waxed out like Haribo tins and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and trying to get the balance of them right, so that
shaving bits off on the bathroom scales. And we got into it, and Tom is much more intellectually rigorous than I am. So we went deep dive, worked out we're going to do a squat, a bench, and a deadlift, and we do that. But the best thing is the rest periods are really long. So we just record the podcast in the rest period. So the podcast isn't about weightlifting at all. It's just us starting each segment slightly out of breath, and then just talking absolute bollocks in between.
Amazing.
And it's free wherever you get your podcast once a week.
And what should they search?
The Unlikely Weightlifters Podcast.
The Unlikely Weightlifters. Please get on that.
Free every week, diarrhea permitting. That's what we say. So 1 in 4 doesn't happen.
Get Rob on social media as well. Do you have?
At Rob Rouse Comedian on the Instagram. At Rob Rouse, I think on X. It's called X, isn't it?
Yeah,
occasionally on that, but mainly on Instagram, and at Rob Rouse Comedian on Facebook.
Great. And do you have a special on there that can watch?
I've got a Patreon as well, patreon.com/Rob Rouse. And there's a special on there called Funny in Real Life.
Amazing. Go watch that. And come back to our Patreon. While you're on Patreon, sign up for Rob, go and sign up to ours, and then you can watch us do some notes off our phone and seeing if we can get some stand-up ideas from the half-baked ideas we had potentially 5 years ago. I'll see you on that very soon. We're just going to break for a coffee.
Bye, everyone.